Holly, please, CBS.
Thank you. Minister Holly Williams from CBS News. I have two questions. Firstly, initially Saudi Arabia denied that it knew what had happened to Jamal Khashoggi, angrily denied that it was involved. Then more than 2 weeks after he was killed, Saudi Arabia said that he had been killed inside the consulate in a fist fight. And then today, Saudi Arabia is saying that he was deliberately killed, apparently by an anaesthetic injection. I understand you can't comment on the details of the investigation, but what is your opinion when it comes to how damaging this has been for Saudi Arabia? Not just the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, but the repeated changing of Saudi Arabia's official story. And sorry, sir, just secondly, picking up on my colleague's question, regardless of the rights and wrongs of people in the US passing judgment, how worried is Saudi Arabia by the threat of sanctions or other forms of punishment by the United States? Thank you.
Thank you. I think the story was evolving because with any crime, you have a theory that you develop in the beginning, and then as you uncover more evidence, the theory changes and becomes more focused. Initially, the team that went had said that Jamal Khashoggi left the consulate through the back door. That was their initial response, and so. Then we found out, in terms of cooperation with the Turkish authorities, that this was not the case. And so then we came out and said he was killed. The question then became, how was he killed? We'd found out that he was killed, and the public prosecutor came out and issued a statement saying that the reports that the team initially provided were false, and that evidence points to a killing, and that he but he detained 18 people. And the custodian of the two holy mosques asked him to launch an investigation. He had asked that previously, but also dismissed 6 senior officials from their duties and asked that a review be made of the organizational structures to ensure that this doesn't happen again. As the investigation continued and as the questioning of those in custody continued, a clearer picture emerged, and we then established with fairly high comfort level that his body was dismembered and that he was killed with an injection, or that he died as a consequence of that. I'm not a technical person, so I can't get into those details because that's not my purview. But it's not that we changed our story. It's that as the information that was becoming available to the public prosecutor developed, he was able to develop a version of the story. And to his credit, to the credit of the Office of the Public Prosecutor, they have been forthcoming in terms of putting out publicly what they knew at that time. If you look at the Oklahoma City bombing in the United States in the 1990s, initial reports said that it was an Arab who did it. Then it became the person who did it fled, and they described where he fled. I don't remember if it was Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. And then it turns out it was Timothy McVeigh. So the actual perpetrator of the crime turned out to be something totally different. Are people going to accuse the FBI or the law enforcement agencies in Oklahoma of changing their story because they uncovered facts that pointed them in the right direction? This is the case that we're dealing with. In terms of the issue of sanctions, Saudi Arabia has taken steps to deal with this issue the way any normal country would. We investigate, we hold those responsible accountable, and we review procedures and policies to make sure it doesn't happen again. That's what countries do, whether it's the US, whether it's the UK, whether it's Saudi Arabia. There are other countries who have a policy of murdering people, and they have a policy of blowing up embassies, and they have a policy of doing things like this, and they make no apologies for it. And clear case that here is Iran. So when people talk about sanctions, sanctioning individuals who committed crimes is one thing. But to hold the Saudi government responsible is another thing. The Saudi government is responsible in how it dealt with this issue and will continue to deal with this issue in a responsible manner. And I believe that any rational thinking person will recognize that mistakes happen, sometimes people abuse their authority, sometimes people exceed their authority, but the key is to hold them accountable and to ensure that it doesn't happen again, and this is what we're doing.